Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 372XP chainsaw. Customer complaint is that they ran it over. Apparently they had one vehicle stuck and they set this saw down off to the side, and at some point the rescue vehicle had to drive around the stuck vehicle and ran over where the saw was sitting in some tall grass. Stuff happens, right? So we're talking about a 20-year-old chainsaw that's going to cost, $1,000 to replace it. And they want to know, is it worth replacing? Is it worth fixing? How much is really damaged? So we're going to look it over. I mean, obviously it needs a spark plug. If that's all it needed, that'd be wonderful, but it's pretty obvious there's going to be a little bit longer list than just a spark plug. The good news is the inside of the cylinder look good. The bad news is it looks like the fins on the cylinder are busted up. If them fins didn't need to be there, the factory definitely wouldn't put them there because they take up a lot of room under the hood, right? Let's look into the fuel tank. I mean, there's fuel in it, which means that the tank doesn't have a hole or puncture in it. So, I mean, that's good news. Always looking for that silver lining, So what are we going to do? We're going to pull the cylinder cover off of here and get a little bit closer look. Three screws that hold that in place, and they're not stripped. Usually they are, but that cover is roached. $50 cover. Now these are MSRP prices. Certainly a person can find parts online for less, but if he's asking us to fix this saw, we put OEM parts on. So those are the numbers you're going to see here. $69 muffler, $200 cylinder assembly. And when I say assembly, that comes with the piston. That anti-vibe spring has seen better days. But the chain brake mechanism seems to be working, so that's good. And one thing that you can't see that's broken is the brake handle. I mean, it's completely gone. And I think the $50 for the top cover might include the air filter cover as well. It's just another part that's not even in the picture. The front handle clearly busted into at least 2 pieces. But the fuel tank is flexed pretty hard right there, and it's a little bit bulged out of shape. It's not leaking. So, we're not going to put that on the list. You can see some of that marsh mud, or wherever they were stuck. And it didn't really save the saw. But when they're in the softer ground, they don't get as much damage. If this was run over on hard ground, I don't think the guy would have even brought it in for assessment. But I'm looking here real close because if the crankcase is broken, like at that anti-vibe mount, it's done. I can stop looking. It's not going to be cost effective to fix it. But I don't see any breaks in the crankcase. The engine seems to pull over smooth. Let's see if we got spark. Well, we can't check it if there's half a spark plug jammed in the boot, right? You know how hard a boot comes off a spark plug sometimes? Well, when they're broke off like this, they really come out hard. So as we're looking at things on here, I mean, there might be some things that go on the list that aren't, what I want to say, that were bad before it got run over. Because he's going to want the saw back in working condition. You know, I just noticed that something that's not going to make my list here is the air filter. There isn't one in the picture anywhere, and I think I forgot to add it to our running list here on the right. So we do have spark, but we need a kill switch. Kill switch is busted up. An air filter's got to be in the $20-some range for the saw. Look how smashed that muffler is. So again, you know, we're just taking our time and looking it over, because what I don't want is to come in at a number that's acceptable for repair and then miss something and have to add to that number. Because, you know, the story then will be, well, if I would have known it was going to cost that much. And just by looking at what we have on the list already, I wouldn't fix it. It's 20 years old. I think the warranty's up on it. So we can straighten that brake lever that the handle goes on. We're thinking that the fuel tank might be okay. It doesn't seem like them holes are stripped in there. And even though in my mind I'm thinking this isn't going to get fixed, I want to be thorough. So our policy will be, if they decide to buy a new saw, then everything you see me doing here will be free. No diagnostic fee if you buy a new piece of equipment. Dang, that one looks tight. So, you know, the clutch cover held up, it looks like. It's a nice stout piece there. We saw that the brake appeared to be working. Look at all the mud in there, though. You know, I don't think all that mud got pushed up in there. I think they were cutting in the mud. What a mess. Maybe they should look for a used saw, huh? So this side, really, it held up pretty good. What are we going to look at here? Oh, we got a little bit of a fuel leak going on. And I wasn't sure if it was the tank or not, but as it turns out, it's just the tank vent itself that's leaking. So we'll put that on the list. Don't know if it happened during the accident or not, but it doesn't matter. It needs to be fixed. And here, you know, I think I'm caught up, but we really need to be thorough. But we're going to pull the handle off of here and get a closer look at that part of the tank. And then we'll pull the starter off and look underneath. You know, if the starter drive mechanism or something is worn really bad from 20 years of use, yeah, that part will go on the list. It got one stubborn screw. But our handy dandy scrunch come to the rescue and broke it loose. So let's see what we got going on under the starter. You know, except for dirt, it looks pretty good. I don't see any cracks in the crankcase. But there's a lot of oil down here. And that oil has been accumulating for a while. This isn't just a new oil leak. We'd look into this a little bit further. Get that schmutz off of there. When I tip the saw back up like this and clean it, I could see that it was bleeding bar oil from around the cap. So the seal on the cap is bad, or there's a crack in the cap or something. You know, we're just going to put a new cap on the list. So where are we at? The air filter's not on there. Probably that's another 20 bucks, I'm guessing. Hang on a minute. Let me, all right, there we added the air filter for 28 bucks, which gives us a total of $484.50 MSRP for parts. You know, that's half the cost of replacing the saw, but we didn't even add labor into that yet. So, in the end, the guy decided to buy a new saw, which was the right thing to do. What would you have done? Well, that's all I got for you on a 372 that was murdered. Thanks for watching. Later.